Whoa! Wow, guys, look, the weather is getting worse and worse, and we already have snow here. Yeah, it sucks, but it looks like it's right about the time to use my fat bike, so I'm feeling quite fine. It's a little bit slippery, but anyway, let's see. Well, the focus is nice, and this lens is really funny to use. But what I was going to talk to you today is to continue to elaborate on the topic that was previously raised by me in already 2 videos, and that initial one was about the central focusing point in DSLR cameras. So if you're using mirrorless, it doesn't matter. But if you're using DSLRs on a budget, very old cameras with just a few focusing points, you know, if the only one is the cross type, so which is good and precise, then this information is very useful for you, and please go watch that previous video. And then I elaborated on the topic, and we discussed what are maybe the problems with using the central point only. And today I'm going to continue that and expand it a little bit and tell you 2 more things about the central focusing point and the problems and solutions that may come with it. So let's start. First is the overall quality of the lens. Yeah, it might sound, you know, very usual and ordinary, but if you're using the technique like focus and recompose, so use the central focusing point to, you know, to focus, and then you recompose, so move your camera to create the composition that you want, there may be another problem, not just missing the focus, as I've told you in the previous video, but also if your lens is not sharp enough overall with the, you know, open aperture. The central part of the lens might be sharp, yes, but if you focus on your main subject with the central part, with the central focusing point, then you move the camera so that your subject of the face of a talent or something like that moves to the periphery of the frame, you know, and it touches the outer edges, the closer to outer edges of the lens where it is not sharp. And it can often happen with the cheap lenses. With you know, expensive lenses may have sharpness all over the frame, even with the open wide aperture. But some budget lenses, most of the budget lenses, are not so sharp on the periphery if you know, compare it to the center of the frame. So say you're focusing on the person's eye, then you move the camera to create a nice composition with, say, his eyes in the upper third of the frame of the picture, and then they turn out like soft, you know, soft and blurry, while the center, the, you know, chest part remains sharp. Why is that? It's because the lens is bad, the optics are bad actually, so it's sharp in the center, but if you recompose, it may still be left soft where you want it to be. So that is the problem, and you must be aware of it if you use the cheap or bad, optically bad lenses, you know. Actually, cheap lenses, sometimes there are models of lenses that are actually sharp across the board, but mostly the cheaper the lens, the softer it is to the periphery comparing to the center. And so be aware of it, and this might be a problem. I'll tell you a couple of solutions to that in the end of this video, but first I'll tell you the second problem which may occur with focus and recompose technique. So to sum up the first point, if you can, even if you have a low budget body with, you know, only central point being cross type like 5D, 5D Mark II, 600D, or I don't know, SL2, SL3. So if you're only forced to use the central focusing point, then at least try to get the more decent lens, so it has the sharpness all across the plane of the picture, you know. And this way, using the focus and recompose technique with the central AF point will be much easier. Now the second thing is actually field curvature. You might have not even heard about it. What the hell is this? Field curvature, the focus field curvature. And that actually happens as well in badly engineered, in optically badly engineered lenses first, and second, even if initially the lens was good, it can be damaged and then have the field curvature. And what is this? This is actually when your corners have different sharpness levels. So no matter how sharp the center is, and no matter how absolutely sharp the corners, they may be even blurrier, they may be soft, but their sharpness or softness must be even, left, right, up, down. All four corners must be like equal in sharpness or in blurriness, it doesn't matter. But sometimes it happens like this with the field curvature, that all right, no matter if it's sharp or blurry and the center is sharp or blurry, your corner, one of your corners might be sharper than the other or softer than the other. It must look weird, but so in this case, I mean, if you focus in the center of the frame and then recompose, then you can have the previous problem that I described. But even if not, you might have problems with, you know, creating composition in the different parts of your frame, in the different corners, and there field curvature might be the problem, because one of your corners can easily be much sharper than the other. And that is, you should be checking out in your particular lens if it's, you know, damaged or not, if it's cheap, if it has curvature or not. So you should be aware that different corners might have different sharpness, and there are, you know, some solutions to that as well, because of course you can rotate your camera, especially if you need to the vertical shoot, or even horizontal. You can turn it around 180 degrees and turn it around, rotate it back in post. So this is like an easy solution. If it helps, of course, if one corner is soft and one is sharp, you know, you rotate it and it's okay. But if it's not and the corners are still, you know, not exactly the corners, but the parts where you want your subject or talent to be in sharp focus and it's not the center. And what is the main problem with the field curvature in the central autofocusing point? The problem is actually that if you focus with the central point and the field is curved, then of course it will be not sharp where you want it. And logically you want to use the outer, the peripheral focusing points. But if you're in hard conditions, like this, dark conditions, you know, the outer points may work not so well as the central. I told you the central one is the best. So in order to receive sharpness in this curved field, in the point where it is curved, you may focus in that area and use the outer focusing points, but they are not best. And if you use the central point, then due to the curved field, you may get soft picture. But so what to do? Well, the obvious solution is just to go manual, either through optical viewfinder on a DSLR, and just go with manual focusing, so you can watch it through the viewfinder if your vision allows that, or go live view, you know, like on an electronic screen. And there you can even zoom the picture, like on Canons, on which I'm shooting right now. You can zoom 5 and 10 times and then manually focus in the part of the frame that you want. But that is manual focus, and of course we are mostly talking about autofocus. And about that there are different solutions. Then, how can you get more sharper corners during focus and recompose with the central AF point? Of course, the obvious solution is to close down the aperture. Yeah, it's obvious, but what's the reason for that? Of course, most of the lenses, no matter cheap or well, good expensive lenses can be sharp all across the board with any aperture, even wide open. But most budget, cheap, middle-range lenses really get much sharper when you close the aperture down, shut down, and of course the corners get much sharper. So if you want to use focus and recompose and you have enough light and you don't care about the bokeh, yeah, just shut down the aperture to f2.8, f4, f5.6, and then the periphery of the picture will be much sharper. So then you can use focus and recompose much more easily, and don't worry that your subject being situated not in the center of the frame will still be in focus. Yeah, that is the solution, but it's not. It's just the technical solution. It's not the artistic solution. Yeah, because if we have a wide aperture, we want to use that, and we want to have sharp pictures, and we want to have a lot of bokeh like this, like in this lens. You see a lot of bokeh, and I don't want to shut down the aperture. I want to still have sharp picture with wide open aperture. And what to do in such case? Then I see only one solution. You know, if you have a budget, not so sharp in the periphery lens, and even if it has field curvature and stuff, and you cannot easily focus and recompose, and you don't want to shut down the aperture, what to do? The logical solution that really works: just create the composition with your subject strictly in the center, in the frame, in front of the central focusing point. So just focus and not recompose. Just shoot in the middle of the frame, even if you don't want composition like that. Why? Because you have enough resolution to crop it in post. So it's not focus and recompose, it's focus, shoot, and recompose in post. So you say, if you shoot portraits or product photography, no matter what, even 10 megapixels, say if you crop in post and lose, say, 2 to 3 megapixels, you still have 6, 7, 8 megapixels. It's pretty much enough for everything, even for big prints. And most contemporary cameras have 18, 20, 24, even more megapixels. So it's not a problem. If you have, bad lens, budget lens, bad, old and cheap camera body, and you have only central cross-type focusing point, like 6D, 5D Mark II, 5D Classic, and so on. These are great cameras with very good color rendition, and they are full frame, but they are difficult to focus. Just use the central focusing point, and don't care about the composition. Don't worry, just place your subject in the center and leave enough space around at the top, at the bottom, left and right. Just back up a few steps and just create the bigger composition. And just keep in mind that you will crop it in post and locate your subject or your product whatever you want in the frame, but you still can shoot with widest possible aperture and with the central auto-focusing point, which is the most accurate, precise, and the most sharpness in any lens is, of course, always in the middle of the frame. So, two solutions with two problems and two solutions, two problems that I described. Either close down the aperture, or best of all, if you want artistic look, just compose to the center of the frame, shoot with the central focusing point, but leave enough blank space around the subject to recompose in post with cropping your huge picture. So that is my advice for today. Now, Paul Kretz was with you. Subscribe to this channel, press like, watch my stories, my shorts on YouTube. They are very useful and they come up really often, nearly every day. So, and leave a comment down below what you think of these that I told you. Did you use it? What cameras and lenses do you use? What problems do you have? Maybe write down your problems in comments and I'll try to give you the solutions. Well, and I'll see you in the next video. Or maybe not. It's up to you.